Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 21st of November, comes to you from London. And we start with the dollar. Dollar actually just recovering on the short-term chart, but interestingly on the medium-term chart, we're now creeping out of the cloud on the lagging line. So we are just seeing the dollar entering medium-term bullish territory for the first time in several months. So US dollar looking stronger, even though it's falling back a little bit this morning. We are entering a new trend, and the significance of this new short-term trend is that the medium term is matching it. So we are seeing the dollar strengthening. Euro, conversely, weakening on the short-term chart. Not quite through yet on the cloud on the medium-term chart. Remember, the dollar is the dollar index. The euro is just euro dollar. So this is just purely against the dollar. So we are seeing the euro sinking there. Looking against the yen, we're seeing the dollar just hitting some resistance here. Short-term still bearish here. Yen looking stronger still. And if we look at sterling, sterling actually looking stronger against the dollar as well. Just nudging the highs that we saw yesterday at this sort of 133 level. So we are bullish in the medium term and short term, but the long term we still need to get above this 135 level. The high that we saw, effectively the 136 mark that we saw several weeks back, if we get above that, that's good for sterling, but we still do have downside targets hanging over us. Of course, we could go either way. Looking at sterling against the euro, sterling looking stronger here as well, and against the Swiss franc, we're seeing that also. Looking at Australian dollar, we're seeing sterling looking stronger here too, nudging the 176 level and actually making a new 2-year high there. Sorry, 1-year high back to the levels of 2016. S&P 500 holding up in the high 2500 area. The Nasdaq also just holding up a bit flat yesterday. The Dow recovering somewhat yesterday, but still a little bit bearish below the cloud. And the Russell 2000 actually looking stronger. So we are seeing a broad-based recovery in US equities, which is pretty key. The S&P future flat this morning, so no real indication as to which way the market will open, and the same with the Nasdaq E-mini, relatively flat but bullish above the cloud on all 3 time frames. The FTSE 100 up very slightly, but looking very bearish still below the cloud on the short term, and just really underperforming here, and even the medium term chart is looking pretty bearish. The FTSE 250 bearish on the short term, the medium term chart finding some support, and we have bounced on the point and figure levels there, so looking a little bit better. The DAX looking bearish below the cloud, but bullish medium and long term, and the Nikkei 225 also looking bearish below the cloud. Hang Seng is looking bullish on all 3 time frames, so the Chinese market looking pretty strong, and the Shanghai index also recovering into bullish territory, so China looking pretty strong again, and the Indian market back above the cloud on the short term, so the Sensex looking good too. The Australian market fairly flat at the moment, bearish below the cloud on the short term, and Brent crude, if we start looking at commodities, back above the cloud yesterday, looking better in the sort of 62 area. So looking bullish still on Brent, and WTI, much the same picture. A shortage of clear targets on WTI, but if we go back to Brent, we see we've got 1 or 3% higher at 64, and quite a few targets into the 70s there. US nat gas just really struggling to hold this $3 level. Looks like it won't. Bearish below the cloud on the short term. Gold had a fallback last night, quite significant. We saw rising dollar just really hitting gold there, so we're back to bearish territory on the short term. We do have upside targets on the short term chart though, so we expect this might be short-lived, and we're really just finding support on the medium term chart. We do need a bit of recovery in gold. Silver, much the same picture of course. Bearish in the short-term chart. Taking a look at US Treasury yields, sitting in the mid-230s still. Apple just wandering below the cloud on the short-term chart, as is Google. The medium term on Amazon and Google, Amazon looking better on all 3 time frames, just flat on that short-term chart as well. Facebook just struggling in the high 170s, just can't break that 180 level convincingly. And Microsoft just falling back a little bit as well, but fairly flat performance here. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.